All righty, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our October 2023 work session. We are glad to see everyone in the room. We're going to go ahead and get started. Next week, Ms. Bramlett, you will have our invocation and lead our pledge. We'll have the Appalachia JROTC cadets presenting the colors. We'll approve some minutes, the agenda, have a Clean Schools Committee report, and quite a few recognitions. So at this time, we'll jump down to the superintendent's department reports, and we will start with support services with Dr. Bowen.
For this section, I've posted the communication report from September. A big thank you to Mobile. Very good.
All righty, thank you, sir. Next, we have business services report. Ms. Houston.
Good evening. We're going to go through the invoices between $10,000 and $74,999 as of October 18th. Dan Murphy out of the general fund, $12,967, and this is for 2 months attorneys of fees, and that's district-wide. Follett Content Solutions, general fund, $15,016, and that's for Follett Destiny, and that's sole source, district-wide. HPI International out of the capital project funds, $19,380 for 20 Surface laptops, and that's just for stock as needed district-wide. Dell Capital Projects Funds, $34,784, and that's for 100 Chromebooks for the one-to-one stock, and that's district-wide. Father Flanagan's Boys Club, Boys Home, I think, Consolidated Funds, $10,968.95, and that's for Boys Town training materials, and that's at Auburn Elementary School. HPI International paid out of the Capital Projects Funds for $11,085, and that is for 10 Surface Studio Surface Dock stock, and that's district-wide as needed. Another Father Flanagan's is for out of consolidated funds for $11,123 for well-managed school training, and that's at Bethlehem Elementary School. EMS Link Incorporated out of the general fund, $67,329, and that's our gateway renewal, and that's district-wide. School Specialty out of the capital projects funds for $11,762, and that was for replacement rugs at Bethlehem Elementary School and County Line Elementary School. All Turf paid out of the general fund for $10,062, and that's for aeration and overseeding that we do at Appalachia High School and Windabera High School ball fields. And then Shuma Sports paid out of the Appalachia High School athletic funds $11,387 for basketball team packs, and that's at Appalachia High School. And then the ones below have already been board approved, and this was just invoices on those projects that you all have already approved. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have the system operations report. Mr. Perno.
Good evening. Just an update on our Bassett 2 project. I've got some photos there. Brick and block are complete, and window framing is, I would say it's complete. We've got windows going in, they're nearly complete. And so just continued good progress out there. The weather's been very helpful as well. So we're on track and doing very well. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, teaching and learning, Dr. Bowden.
Yes, sir. I'd like to welcome Ms. Persinger and Ms. Mitchell to the podium to share information about our 2023 graduation rate.
Thank you, Dr. Moten. I'm Ms. Mitchum. I am the assessment and data coordinator, so this is part of the data that I get to work with, and Jenny and I work together on this. This is only my second year doing grad rates, so I'm still learning, but luckily this year I get to bring you good news that it has gone up for the system this year. So I'm just going to go through quickly what graduation rate is and how it's figured. This is one of those things that you never realize happens behind the scenes, but then once you get into it, you understand a lot more about where this rate comes from. So every student that comes into our school is part of a graduation cohort. So when you enter 9th grade, there's a starting date, and within guidelines, you have 4 years to finish those credits to be considered a graduate with your cohort. So that date follows students throughout the state as they move and all of that. So that's where we start, and we have to make sure that our students are in the system correctly. So we have to, when they enroll and they start 9th grade, even if they're only with us for a semester, we have to make sure that date's correct, and that we then know where they've gone after they leave us. So, Rochelle. So what we do is we have to actually track these students, and they have ID numbers and that cohort entry date, and so we follow them. So a lot of times we do have students that lived in Barrow County their whole life. They start kindergarten with us, go all the way through high school and graduate. But unfortunately, that's not always the case for every family. So we do have students that come in middle of their high school career, they move out of state, they move across districts and then come back to us, and we have to keep track of all of that. So at our schools, we have some phenomenal folks that keep up with all of this and make sure that we are tracking these and update these regularly, so that when it is 4 years later, after that student started 9th grade, that we can truly show the state we know where they are. Even if they didn't graduate with us, we know where they are and they don't get counted towards our numbers. So if they go between Georgia districts, a lot of times the state sees that and accounts for that. But then when you have a student that is either moving out of state, country, or chooses to do homeschool or private school, we do have to keep track of those. Usually it's a records request or some sort of documentation that proves that that child did not just drop out of school. So we have to have that on file, so that if the state were to audit us, that we would show them we know exactly where this student went and why they didn't graduate with their cohort from Barrow County schools. So how it's calculated, and again, this is one of those things that, oh, it's just a rate. It's just the number of kids that graduated out of the number of kids that, with the leftovers that didn't graduate. But it's actually a lot more than that. So that going back to that 9th grade date, we start with all of our 9th graders that came in. In this case, for our 2023 cohort, they started in fall of 2019. So obviously we all know that they got hit in their freshman year in the last quarter of the year. Pandemic shut them down. So that's where this cohort fell with the pandemic. And so we take all of those 9th graders and anyone who transfers in during that time, and then we subtract everybody that we can account for transferring or changing to a different type of school. And then that's the denominator, but our numerator is going to be the number of actual graduates that we produced. So now I will note too that we do have some summer graduates that get counted in our graduation rate. That's why it doesn't come out until later, is because we have all summer to make sure that if there's a student with 1 or 2 classes, they can finish it and they don't have to come back to school to finish that, and they're counted with their cohort. So luckily we're able to do that. So this is where our 91.5 has come from this year. So we had 948 graduates from all 3 of our high schools. BASA had their first graduating class, as we all know. And so we take that number, again, everybody who started 9th grade in 2019 all the way through everybody who transferred in was 1603, and then 567 of them we can account for transferring out, and that leaves our denominator. So if you subtract those two, we only had 88 students that were unable to meet that 4-year graduation rate. So again, when you look at it in students, obviously we'd like to see more, but at the same time, we can identify who those students are and what we can do to increase that number as we continue to move forward. And so this one just breaks down each school. So each school does have their own grad rate based on their cohort. And as you can see, BASA, their cohort total was only 89 this year. So next year that will probably be more than double that. So their classes are getting larger as they continue to grow. So that will continue to increase for them. So all of that is there for you. And then the next slide actually speaks to what we've been talking about, I feel like, for several years now, but mostly this year, how much we are growing as a county. So not only has our graduation rate gone up over time, the number of students we're graduating goes up, which accounts for all of the population growth that we're experiencing here in Barrow County. So that is the gist of how we get graduation rate, and the state is the one that then certifies it once we submit all of our paperwork. But just a couple of things that this isn't possible without the people at our schools. Obviously our students that work so hard, but then I will say our graduation specialists and our academic interventionists that have stepped in since we've come out of the pandemic have made a difference in just the 2 years that I've seen. But then we've got administrators, teachers, counselors that are at the school every day working with these students, trying to get them through in 4 years. So just knowing that this is everybody's mission to get these students out of high school and on to college, career, whatever it is that they're moving on to. But that's, in a nutshell, how we figure our graduation rate. And it has, like I said, increased this year. So, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I hate math. I saw this and I looked at it and I kept looking at it, and so I took the three graduation rates, the 90.1, the 97.8, and the 91.9, totaled that and divided by 3, and I came up with a higher figure. And so I've spent days trying to figure this out, but that's not how it works.
No, it's the number of students, like the total number of students. So each school has their own rate based on their cohort and their number of graduates, but then as a system, they look at all of our graduates. So it's just the numbers, not the percentages averaged.
If you look at BASA, they have the higher graduation rate, which is fewer number of students, so it impacts the overall rate at a lower percentage.
Yeah.
And then there's also a handful of students that transfer in between our high schools that are not counted in that high school. So if a child left Winograd High School to go to Appalachian, they're taken out of the calculation for Winograd High School, but they're in Appalachian one, and then they also contribute to the district one, so there's a few little stragglers in there.
Yes.
So basically, we are capturing all of these.
Yes.
In one way or another.
Right.
Okay.
And I want to add to what Beth said, it's also the behind-the-scenes clerical staff for our high schools that are literally keeping up with those documents that a student who was with us for a month in their freshman year and then transferred, somebody's got to be able to tell them where is that records request 3 years down the road before we can count them. So it's a lot of work. It takes a whole team.
Thank you.
And this is just a testament for what every employee in Barrow County does. I mean, from the bus drivers getting them to the schools, to the lunch ladies feeding them, to the teachers, the counselors, the custodians keeping, I mean, all that combined is what has gotten us to this 91.5 from
Yes.
K-12, pre-K-12, exactly.
That's right.
That's just, a lot of hard work went into that, and we can see it.
Do you see any kind of loopholes or any kind of issues that a system that maybe we need to work on that's our issues as far as these kids that maybe that maybe we need to do better on our end is to keep them in, like maybe they sold a house or they've done something, like a new one being built, and we've got to transfer them out. And then maybe they may not graduate in 4 years. Maybe we need to come up with something so that they do graduate in that 4 years. Do you see anything? Because if you see them once, maybe it's a bigger problem.
And I can just say, I mean, Jenny might have more because she did this prior to me, but in the 2 years, just the fact of the graduation specialist working individually with students, and we have a system graduation team that is working on refining those processes and that sort of thing. And like she said, the record keeping is a huge part of it, because there's maybe a student that, you know, genuinely graduated from another high school, but unless we have that records request on file. And I think it's going to get better too as we refine that and we're out of the pandemic. I have noticed over the 2 years that there are students that are missing those documents just because of the nature of, let's enroll somebody even if we don't have records from another school or something. So that process is, we are refining those, and registration works diligently to make sure that we account for all of our students. So again, I think everything that we're doing on all of our high schools and downward of individualizing education so that students are interested and they want to be there.
And I think, just because I've done this for a few years, it's those kids that just don't show up one day, we don't know where they are, that is, the schools are doing. I mean, we use social media, we use go find a friend that they knew, like, just to track them down, to make sure they're somewhere, whether it's with us, or a private school, or homeschool, or another district, that they're getting that education.
I actually got an email yesterday from one of the clerks at one of the high schools, and it was regarding a student in last year's cohort. She finally got updated that that student is actually graduated from another school, but, you know, too little too late. But at the same time, the fact that we do keep up with this and they keep hounding, so.
Is there a way, so if you back up a couple of slides where it was like the subtraction of
Mhm.
500 kids or whatever, so the 567 kids, those are the, I'm just a little bit.
No, that's okay. So those are the transfers out. So let's say that student moves in, starts freshman year here, but then transfers to Gwinnett. They're considered part of that 567 because the state knows that they're in Gwinnett. We don't.
The kids that are still in the 1036 are kids who do homeschool or private school.
No, those kids are taken out too, as long as we can prove it. The only ones that 88 is going to be students that chose to pursue a GED, have to return to finish their credits, or truly did not submit any kind of records request or anything. You know, as long as we can prove that they moved out of the country. I mean, we have documentation that we keep on that. So those kids come out of that 567. So that's just, some people just question how that number comes, how do we get it down to 1036?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Alrighty, next we've got planning and personnel, Ms. Beggs.
Not at this time.
Alrighty, and then last, strategic information services, Dr. Thompson.
The 40th day enrollment report is posted for your information. Other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Alright, thank you, sir. Talk about now.
Okay, yeah, next I think is clarification. This is we just put up a copy of the email we sent to board members regarding the Bassett Track piece. Just wanted to have that out so the public could see it also, and we've been communicating with Mr. Carruthers. Been very helpful working through all of this, so it's been a good process to get these kids what they need and move them on. So,
Perfect, so we got clear steps of how to get approval, and then
correct.
like Dr. Michael said, Jason Crothers will be our point of contact between, kind of parent liaison between system, school, and parents within the track and field program.
Dr. Michael, this is just my ignorance, but can you give me some clarification on what the district governance team is? 'Cause I don't think I've ever come across that.
The way our charter is written, that school level things are school governance teams. Anything that may come up that may affect the, say the cluster, there's another level that's a cluster governance team, which consists of the chair, the vice chair from each of the schools, some representatives from the PDC. And that's if it's something that, Bear Creek's probably the best example we've had over the years. When they decided to do uniforms, that went up and they said, well, now that may, the other schools may, in the cluster might want to do that, may not, so that went to the charter, or to the cluster. Then the determination made at the cluster level, okay, well, does that affect the whole, might affect the whole district? So then it goes to the district team. VASA being a little bit different, pretty much everything it does, since it doesn't have a cluster, would go to the district team. So that's made up of representatives from the two clusters, representatives from up here, and then they go that. And then if it's something that needs to come up to the board level, then it comes up to the board level. And we've been, Matt, how long have we been a charter system now? It's been,
Since 2010.
yeah, so that's been the process for.
It's not that common for it to happen. It's only happened a few times. We had one last year. There was a proposal to do some different grading things that ended up not being approved at that time. But it doesn't come up frequently, but there are circumstances such as this where, based on the nature of the school or the issue, it would necessitate a district governance team.
I think one of the questions that I talked to Jordan about, I don't think they got answered, was all these, according to the packet of information that Dr. Michael gave out to us, and I think we had gotten from the parent group as well, put together, at the same time, all the sports, I can't remember what all was on there. And track and field was at the bottom with one other sport, I can't remember what other sport was on it. But how did all those other sports, when the school governance team approved all of those to send up, how was track and field the only one that didn't get moved on up? That was my concern, what
Yeah,
happened to all
no,
those other sports?
we looked at that. They all came up at different times throughout. If you go back and look through all of the SGTs, they took those and then they started putting them forward. And I'm assuming it was because of looking at costs and things like that. That was the prior administration that was there, and I'm not sure
Well,
exactly.
now, my understanding is the athletic director is still, from that school, still around. She's been promoted to the central office.
Actually, she wasn't the original athletic
Or she
director.
wasn't? Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, now we will move into new business. We will start with Mr. Sinclair and talk about Dell Chromebooks.
Thank you. As part of our regular refresh of technology near or at end of life and expansion of our one-to-one deployment, new Dell Chromebooks are being sought. An RFP was posted and 15 vendors responded by bid deadline. The low bidder respondent, Dell of Round Rock, Texas, met the terms of the RFP. They've done similar business with us before, and they are not adversely listed in the SAM.gov database. The total financial impact is $644,288 from a combination of ESSER and SPLOST funds. The superintendent recommends authorizing the purchase of Dell Chromebooks from low bid respondent Dell of Round Rock, Texas, in the amount of $402.68 per device, 1,600 devices for a total of $644,288.80.
Any questions? Consent agenda?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty, next, Ms. Houston, high school chairs.
All right. Business Services has been using the chairs from the amphitheater for use in graduations and other special events, taking down the chairs from one graduation at night and setting them up at the other high school overnight. With an additional high school coming on and needing those chairs, and the aging staff of Business Services, we would like to purchase additional chairs that the high schools can use as needed throughout the year for student and parent events. And that will allow the high schools to have the chairs in timely fashion to facilitate the needs of graduation. We put out a request for proposal for looped leg folding chairs. So those are the chairs on the loop legs they don't interfere with the AstroTurf. So we put out a request for proposal for loop leg folding chairs and carts to store the chairs in and received 15 responses. Some companies sent multiple chair options. Only 7 of the responses were for the loop leg chairs. We also requested samples of the chairs. The 3 high schools sent a representative to sit in the chairs and make a decision based on comfort, durability, and ease of use. Business Services and other PDC employees also participated in the decision making. The chair that was determined to be the best quality and comfort was the Hertz Furniture 4th submission. The cost is $36 per chair and $560 per cart, which would hold 84 chairs. Please note that this was not the cheapest chair, but one that the group felt would be comfortable for students, parents, and staff and will hold up over time. So we are asking, the superintendent recommends the purchase of chairs and carts for the 3 high schools for use in graduation, open house, and other school events for students and parents from the Hertz Furniture for $100,800. We also would like the option to go to the next selection if needed due to production or shipping delays, which would be up to $121,000. We would be using ESSER funds to pay for these. We got approval from Georgia DOE that we could use our ESSER funds for this. And remember, our ESSER funds will run out September of 2024.
Any questions?
So which one did we pick of the 3?
So we picked, if we can pull up the picture, it would be that white one. And they're still over at
They're all
Business
white.
Services Department. 1,
Yeah.
first place, second place, and third place.
Oh, okay.
That was option
Should have
one,
known Jennifer was going to have them in order.
Forgive us.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It looks more.
I'll be more clear, but they're over there at Business Services if any of you would like to go over and sit in them.
Have you sat in them?
I have sat in them.
That's good enough for us.
Okay.
If you say they're comfy, we should.
Alrighty, any other questions? Consent agenda? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, I have the second one too. A registered behavior technician, an RBT, is a professional who uses a variety of techniques, including applied behavior analysis, to help students increase positive social skills and reduce behaviors that are impacting their education and the education of those around them. They support the student and teacher by implementing the student's behavior intervention plan, or what we call the BIP, collecting data on the plan and making potential suggestions to the board-certified behavioral analysis, who has written the BIP plan based on the previous data collection. The RBT also coaches the classroom teacher and/or parapro on BIP implementation and fidelity checks with the goal of fading the RBT's time in the classroom, fading them out of the classroom. The special education department is in need of 2 of these RBTs to serve students in the district. We have been using Salient for contracted services, and since these job types are hard to find and fill, Salient is currently contracting these RBTs at $57 per hour. The superintendent recommends contracting through Salient for 2 additional RBTs, or registered behavior technicians, for up to $150,000. One will be paid out of the general fund and one out of IDA special education funds. Both budgets will need to be increased for this expenditure.
So we're increasing the budgets, where are we taking the money? We already have the money for this?
It come out of
That's
fund,
in our reserves?
come out of reserves.
Okay.
Special education will use it out of their funding for the year, so they won't have to take it out of their reserves. They just have additional funding that they can cover this with, one of them, but then one of them will come out of general fund.
So just 75,000 from the general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we sure this is enough? I'm trying to get back to where we were right after COVID, when we identified a lot of students, including special ed children, who needed a lot of extra services.
So that's over my head, so can we ask Jill? Jill? Yes, please.
Come on down.
So the question is that enough RBTs?
We'd like to have 40.
Yeah, if we can have 2,000, that'd be great. I think at least to start, we've had a lot of transfer students come in. I feel like this year alone, the number of transfer students coming in with significant behavioral challenges has been more than I've seen in any of the years past. So we have one BCBA and one BCBA for all of our students. You know, she can't get everywhere she needs to. So we've really tried to triage where she's going at times. Unfortunately, we've had to let some schools know we're gonna have to reschedule you because unfortunately situation 2 has, been more significant. So there's really not enough of her to go around, so those RBTs would work under her direction and collect data, implement plans, model plans, and do all of those things. And I think, initially to start out at 2, and we'll see where our needs go from there.
So you think 2 will get you through this year's budget?
If it needs to, we'll make it work. We always do.
Always do.
But I never know who's going to come in. Sometimes we have surprises. I have a surprise on my desk, now.
Yeah,
And
I
he
think-
hasn't started yet.
Yeah, I think
So, I think definitely right now, 2 would work.
To answer the
but-
question, if we get more coming in, then we may need to come back and
Yeah.
ask for more, but
I think it's gonna be budget out for next year, for sure. It's okay, we don't like really.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, are there any other questions?
I'm happy with the 2 if you can do that. I'm just concerned that we are doing everything we can for these kids, and I don't want anybody to fall into the cracks because of it.
I agree.
Thank you.
And from my understanding, reading this, it says after they train the parapro and teacher of how to implement these, then they phase themselves out, right?
So it's basically a plan, right? So we triage the students. Sometimes our BCBA coordinator will work with the teacher and give suggestions, and they can do that. Sometimes the behaviors are more severe and they need a registered behavior technician to carry out those plans. So a lot of times the way that looks at the beginning is maybe the first 2 weeks the RBT goes in there and they're the ones implementing the plan. The teachers see them implementing the plan, then they gradually try to relinquish that responsibility to the teacher if able. Sometimes the behavior is so significant, the teacher is not able to do that and teach at the same time. So in the perfect world, you know, the RBT would go in there, implement the plan for the teacher, they would see it, the behaviors would decrease, and then that plan can be faded onto the teacher, and then we would fade that RBT out to use at a different location.
So ideally, if everybody just has issues during the year, but not all at the same time, I agree with that.
Yeah. So if it always were like, can you wait your turn? But, you know, it doesn't always work that way. And, you know, and the plan doesn't all, you know, it's not always 2 weeks and then fade out. It just really depends on the need of the student, and there's no way to really tell what that's going to entail until they get in there.
Alrighty, consent agenda? Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Alrighty, next we got Dr. Bowen and the next 2-year school calendars.
Yes. Good evening. We come to you tonight with proposed calendars for the 24-25 and 25-26 academic calendars, student calendars. We started the process in August. We typically try to get these approved by November or December for the following 2 years, do 2 years at a time. We did a survey in the month of August, and we had 4,782 respondents to that survey. I just did a little quick summary of some of the things we found from that. 68% of the respondents were parents, 27% were school staff, and there were 5% that were a variety of other different people, but those were the primaries. The results, when asked about the start of school, 60% said early August was a fine to start, which is what we've done now for close to 20 years. We've started the first week in August. 28% would have preferred a little bit later start into mid-August to flash back to our youth of many, many years ago when we started later. But that was the results there. We ranked the breaks, what breaks are most important, full week breaks, and Thanksgiving was first, fall was second. The third of the asking for the breaks ranked was a longer summer. Kids might have logged in on that one, not sure. But we also saw that results that spring break, 2/3 of the respondents felt the first week of April was the best week for spring break, and only 18% chose the popular college spring break, which is more mid-March. So we had a pretty solid number there to stay consistent with the first week in April. And the last day of school overwhelmingly was chosen to try to get in by Memorial Day. So then one of the challenges we have when we work through with these survey results are we basically work backwards for each of the 2 semesters. In other words, we start at Christmas and work our way backwards for the first semester, and then start at Memorial Day and work our way backwards for the second semester. And we run these results through a variety of different stakeholders over the last couple of months. We started with a survey of all stakeholders in August. We took those results and disseminated the results out to each of the school governance teams. We got input from them on how they deciphered the results, as well as their input and suggestions as governance teams. We also took it to our Teachers Advisory Council, which is a group of a representative from each of our schools that comes together and gives us a teacher's perspective. We also gave this to in our principals meetings, which we meet after district leadership. Our cluster principals meet together, so we wanted to get their perspective of what the calendars look like. And then we also ran it through executive cabinet as well to try to bring all this input together and come back with the 2 calendars that we present to you today for 24-25 and 25-26. I'll take a quick look and see that anything that you may notice. The 4-day Labor Day holiday was feedback we got that was popular. So we tried to keep that consistent on both calendars. We also got feedback that with August 1st falling on a Friday, we wanted to make sure our staff was comfortable with just doing a 1-day start on August 1st on Friday, and they were. In fact, most of the staff results were that they preferred to go ahead and start on Friday the 1st versus Monday the 4th, to go ahead and get the first day out of the way, and also not have to start your first week with the five-day sprint. So by doing that, backing that one up to the 1st, it gave us that day we could use at Labor Day. We worked in the full week for fall break, which results tell us we needed to do, as well as the full week in Thanksgiving. The one difference between the two calendars you'll notice is in November 5th of 2024 is an election day, and that's a national election day. So we have listed that as a student holiday on that day. We also try to do at least 2 full weeks for the students for winter break, which takes us into the first few days of January. And we also needed to build in more staff feedback. We needed 2 professional learning days before we started the second semester in January, which is why we're delaying the start of one of these to being a Tuesday instead of a Monday. I think that's the January 2026 restart is a Tuesday instead of a Monday. That's because the second falls on a Friday, and we need to do 2 PL days or teacher planning days. We use that Friday and that Monday to do that. This is not a fully fleshed out staff calendar, but that is one area that we needed to consider before we chose the comeback date in January of 26. You'll also notice on graduations, we're back to alternating graduations again between Windabera and Appalachia. We went through a 2-year cycle where the principals at each of those schools had come to an agreement they would prefer to keep it on the same day each of those 2 years instead of alternating it. Well, we have new leadership in places now who decided they'd like to go back and alternate it again. So we've got one on Friday, one on Thursday, depending on the year. Remember, this starts next fall. This is not this current year. This current year is already in place. And we're able to finish by Memorial Day. The tricky part with Memorial Day and finishing there depends on what day of the week it falls on. If Memorial Day falls on the 23rd or 24th, then it makes it really tight working your way backwards. If it's later and it's the 29th or the 30th, then that's a full week later. It gives you more room to add in some more days potentially in February and March. So when you look at one of these and see that we only have one student holiday in February 26 and March of 26, it's simply because of the day of the week that you see Memorial Day fall on there, being May the 25th. Which just gives us less days to use at the end of the year. In other words, to finish by that day, we have to squeeze it in the rest of the way. Any questions that jump out while we have it in front of us?
Looks good.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not this one, but the other one. I just like general consensus about going back to winter break. I know we were starting and working our way back from winter break.
Yeah.
But I know more in recent years, it feels like you're getting out right before Christmas Eve. And I know that this is not necessarily true to the 25 calendar, but I mean, I guess it's just not really feasible to make it more even on the front and back ends of.
It depends on the days of the week in which the holidays fall on is what makes it challenging. And I think we saw this last year where we went all the way up through with the planning day through the 22nd, I think it was, on Thursday, and the kids got out on the 21st. That's a little later than you like, but at the same time, we were looking at the whole winter break, in 2 full weeks. And if you back it up much, now we have to bring staff back in before we bring students in January, and we can't bring them in on January 1 to start staff back. So it is funny how the days of the week do affect it. That and when Memorial Day is affects the number of days. I think our planning personnel is going to have some challenges getting in staff days. Is what I think, because it's pretty lean in there to find the additional staff days. But from year to year, I think if you look over the 5 or 6 or 7 year period, you can see just how different it can be depending on what days of the week the holidays fall.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, though.
The teachers would be mad at us if we didn't say that.
Well,
And
you
I
should
will
say it then.
And I
You don't
will
want to-
say personally, and I know that this might not be popular opinion, but for those who are in split parent households, a lot of agreements are somebody gets the child the first part of break and then somebody gets the child the second part of break. And I'm not just saying that for my own child, but I'm saying that for a lot of the kids in the school district,
Yes.
that they might only get to see one parent for a couple of days, or maybe 2 or 3 the
Yeah.
first part. But that's just a lens I was looking through. But teachers too, they really like to shop before Christmas and have time to clean their houses and
Yes, well, I think.
Breathe.
Prepared.
I think if we took all the recommendations from the surveys, we'd only come up with about 140, 150 school days, and you can't do that.
Right.
So,
You're doing your best with what you got.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? It doesn't have to be approved tonight. We've got a few weeks if we want to put it, we want to save it for the board meeting.
I
It's
think you
fine.
did a great job.
Well, thank you.
I just thought I should ask.
I appreciate
We
that.
can't cut off 30 days in the school year?
Ma'am,
We can't cut off 30 days in the school year?
have to be a pretty rough
I
winter
think a lot
storm.
of people
to
would
come
have
in.
to.
Save us a lot of
All
gas
right.
money.
Consent agenda, guys? All righty, thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Alrighty, next, Mr. Perno, close out of Bramlett Elementary, Kennedy, and Yargo.
Okay, so these three items, these are really sort of administrative things that we need to do with the state. What we're committing to here is we're telling them that these projects, there's no outstanding payment due, no claims of any nature, anything like that. And so once we make that official, then we can get that final bit of money from the state for these projects. So these were completed in the summer of 2022. And these are renovations to Bramlett, Kennedy, and Yargo, primarily the two-story additions at those facilities. And so we're asking the superintendent to recommend the final closing out of Bramlett Elementary School. And the financial impact for that one would be $42,475.80 in state capital outlay funds due to the school system. These typically run about a year beyond when we actually close them, just to get through the warranty period and get any outstanding issues resolved. So that's for Bramlett.
Okay, consent agenda for that one? Alrighty.
Okay, for Kennedy, we're asking the superintendent to recommend the final closing out of Kennedy Elementary School renovation project. Financial impact here is $38,547.20 in state capital outlay dollars returned to the school system, or provided to the school system.
Consent agenda? Alrighty.
Okay, and we're also asking the superintendent to recommend the final closing out of Yargo Elementary School renovation project. Financial impact here, $42,475.80 in state capital outlay funds to the school system.
And consent agenda? Yes. Alrighty.
Okay, Performing Arts Center, guaranteed maximum price. Our building committee met in November of 2021, and actually, back through, we also met as far back as March of 2018, discussing the overall site plan and master plan for the Innovation Campus, and this is being a piece of that. Ms. Stevens and some others could probably recall 10 or 15 years ago or thereabouts, a performing arts center kind of being on the drawing board, and it never really came to fruition. So that's just obviously a very brief background to this, but in those discussions, part of that Innovation Campus is a fine arts facility, and that type of facility would be available for use by the school district and the community, while also serving as a direct support for the arts programs offered by BASA. We brought an architect on board. You all approved an architect in March of 2022, Cunningham, Forehand, Matthews, and Moore. And Charles Black Construction was approved as construction manager in May of this year. And so with that, we're making a recommendation for a guaranteed maximum price of $16,497,607 for the new Performing Arts Center and site improvements at the Innovation Campus.
Joe, how much did it cost to build Austin Road Elementary? Just a general, do you know?
You'll probably tell me to the penny, but
I'm just kind of thinking about the price increases.
The building was 23.6, and the site development included grading for the elementary, middle, and the athletic facilities was 7
Glad you remember. I'm impressed you remember that.
It's not completely, but if you put 7 divided by 3, and add that to 23.6.
Question.
discipline, but we had 5 construction managers who proposed on the project. 6 showed up at a pre-proposal meeting, and 5 submitted a proposal to us. And so we had competition there. And then when we collect the guaranteed maximum price, we had over 70 bids for the different trades, for painting, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, concrete and masonry, and all those sorts of things. So there's a good bit of competition in the 2 steps, selecting the construction manager and then getting all the trade work assigned to the project.
Do we ever need to see those bids and return to us?
We can provide those to you.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
All right.
When Appalachia was being built, there was supposed to be an auditorium or performing arts group there, and it was the first thing that got cut when we value engineered that school. So this has been a long time coming, and I've been mad about it for 22 years. However, seeing the plans for this new performing arts center, it's been worth the wait. So this is going to be something that I think we can all be proud of, and I appreciate all the work that went into it.
Thank you. We're excited about getting started.
All right, consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty, next week we will get authorization for committees to meet, and at this time, we're going to go into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for this position of superintendent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Alrighty, guys, if you'll give us a room for a few minutes.
My name is Lance McNamara. I'm the Health Service Manager, Athletic Trainer for Barrow County School System. We're at Winder Barrows High School practice today, covering football, and one of the things that we're always concerned about this time of the year is looking at heat illnesses, environments, things of that nature. So today, I want to discuss a little bit about what the athletic trainers do at Appalachia High School, at BASA, as well as Winder Barrow High School. Athletic trainers play a key role in the safety of the student athlete. We're involved in injury prevention, injury recognition, rehabilitation, counseling, but probably one of the key things is looking at environmental conditions. This unit here is called a wet bulb globe temperature unit. Many years ago, we would kind of focus on what's called the heat index. Heat index is great. It focuses on heat, the dry temperature, as well as humidity. Wet bulb has been used by the United States military, primarily the Marine Corps, and they use 3 components: the radiance of the sun, the humidity that we have, as well as a dry temperature. That gives a mathematical computation, and then that point gives a number, and that number determines what modifications that we utilize for practice. So that number could be a green flag, a yellow flag, an orange flag, red flag, and a black flag. A black flag. When this device gets to 92%, we have what's called a black flag, which means there's no physical activity whatsoever. When the number gets below 92, we get to 90 to 92, we're in what's called a red flag. That red flag is based upon time. We do not allow athletes to participate in the weather for more than 60 minutes. They have no equipment on whatsoever. But within that 60 minutes of activity, they're really only performing 40. They do 20 minutes of water rest breaks embedded. We get to orange. Orange is from 89 down to 86. Orange means that we just have to watch the at-risk individuals. We be sure that we have at least 4 water breaks per hour within a 2-hour practice. We get down to yellow, which is below our 86, and that's discretionary. We just kind of have to make sure our kids have access to water. We give them plenty of water breaks, and we kind of watch the at-risk. Anything below 82 is called green, which we don't have many issues from that. However, when we get to the score of 88, we also have to set up what's called a cool zone. So over here, a cool zone is that we happen to have a shade-of tent. We have a water immersion tank that we can drop 30 gallons of ice water into a tank, about 58 degrees. We then place the individual into that tub and we reduce our core temperature quite effectively. So hopefully we never have to get to that because we are monitoring. We have unlimited water breaks for the student athlete, and because of our athletic trainers and our coaches, we focus on the students. In conclusion, Barrow County Schools is committed to student safety, not just in the classroom, but also in the athletic environment. We have athletic trainers that is their responsibility to work with our coaches to be able to identify potential injuries, whether it be through just competition, play, or the environment. So again, we've got some very good policies and procedures set in place to protect the student athlete. Thank you again, and remember, go Dogs, go Wildcats, go Blazers.
Hello, my name is Brittany.
My name is Enver Bautista.
Gael Garcia.
Natalia Tuluco.
Ricardo Rubio Rivera.
My name is Snowy.
Tabitha Mitrik.
Marco.
My name is Rosa.
René Garcia.
Miss Kiara.
Juan Martín.
Cesar Hernández Muñoz.
Alexis Lem.
Lisette.
I am Jesus.
Jennifer Jimenez. Fernanda.
Juan Esteban. Satizabal.
Jarisa.
I'm Steve Galindo. I'm from El Salvador.
The Barrow County Newcomer Academy was established in 2017 with the purpose of supporting high school students as they transition to life in the United States. Since its inception, the Newcomer Academy has served students coming from all over the world with many different language backgrounds. Instructors work closely with students to develop their English proficiency and provide support in their academic classes. Additionally, the Newcomer Academy serves to support students with the many unique challenges of adapting to life in a new culture surrounded by a new language. This means everything from previewing each day's lunch menu and discussing the foods being served, to assisting students in researching and planning for future careers.
We accept students from all over the world and become a close-knit family, so their cultures automatically come in with them in organic and inorganic ways.
We can put aside the fitting in because they find a commonality in their differences that they're not going to find in the larger high school.
Getting to know our students and their backgrounds and sharing with each other, that's kind of like the foundation where we go from, and everything is based on that.
Newcomer has been so great in providing that community and those people that they feel comfortable talking to, asking questions, to show them the ropes and just how to navigate the day.
And they also work with them on some of their academic deficits, and so when they come back to me in the classroom, I see improvement from them that they got from the Newcomer Academy.
When newcomers arrive in the U.S., they are often overwhelmed and apprehensive about their new surroundings. They are in desperate need of a safe space to adjust and an advocate they can rely on. The Newcomer Academy is honored to play this role in students' lives until they feel confident and prepared to move on independently. Even after transitioning out of the program, instructors maintain communication with students, families, and colleagues, allowing for a gradual release into the mainstream classes.
First, I didn't want to go to school because I was like, oh, they're going to speak another language and I don't know how to speak it.
Leaving friends, leaving family, leaving your background, and moving to a new place, it is hard.
Sometimes it's hard because when I try to speak English, it's so difficult for me.
When I saw that there was like a lot of people like in my situation, it kind of made me feel like I was not alone.
They help people from other countries and they make them feel like part of the US. They make them feel like home.
Newcomer students typically stay in the program for 1 academic year, depending on their specific needs. During their time in the Newcomer Academy, students are supported and cared for by our passionate Newcomer team, who welcome and respect the diverse cultures represented. The Newcomer Academy instructors work closely with students and families to address specific needs, monitor student progress, and connect families to community resources to help each and every student thrive.
The most important goal of the Newcomer Academy is to make our students feel safe, comfortable, and accepted. We want our students to have a place and a face that is familiar, where they know that their needs will be met and that someone will advocate for them.
We really become a family, and they have each other to support, to offer the support, and they have us. It takes some work to get through, but that is our daily goal.
I care about these students and I want them to be successful, so it makes me really proud when they come back from Newcomer Academy and I can tell that they've been working on certain communication skills or academic skills, and I see them grow so much throughout the course of the year, and it just makes me really proud of them.
Allowing them to know that they have our support and our help in any way that they need us is the most powerful thing that we can offer.
The teachers are really able to get to know their students, to wrap their arms around them as newcomers, while also teaching them important academic skills and helping them to acquire the language. It's a remarkable program, and it's very important to the Barrow County community.
The students and teachers at the Newcomer Academy are a close-knit community of people who support one another and value cultural inclusion. Students learn and grow alongside their peers, who are also experiencing similar challenges of adjusting to new culture and language. The Newcomer Academy instructors employ culturally responsive teaching and work hard to ensure equity of opportunities for newcomer students.
It's a very good program for the people to arrive to the United States.
They make feel better and comfortable.
The academy is maybe the best thing for people like me.
It makes me feel like I'm not the only one that is trying to learn other language and starting a new life.
Miss Wilson and Miss Wright were the best teachers that I had in my life. Like really, they're so nice.
When do you need help and in your class, they help you.
It has been a great help for me and to improve my English.
The teachers can explain what we know, understand.
Our teachers care about us in school and out.
I really like the support give me and give us and my classmates.
It helps a lot and it's a good program.
Each day you're gonna be there is gonna be better.
During the 2020-2021 school year, the Newcomer Academy expanded to serve elementary and middle school newcomers through virtual learning environments. The next few years will continue to show growth as the program expands to reach and serve newcomers of all ages. Working with newcomers is challenging and rewarding work. The Newcomer Academy is proud to continue the tradition of being Barrow bold.
I can't imagine these students without this program. I think that in and of itself shows how valuable the program is.
I hope the program grows to meet the needs of our students and our growing ESOL population. I hope we're able to add instructors and serve students from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
I think that was probably one of the best years of my life when I was in Newcomers.
Newcomer Academy is the best academy in the world.
I love Newcomer Academy.
For more information about the Newcomer Academy, visit our website or follow us on social media.
Project Search is a very unique transition program, different from anything we have in Barrow County. It started at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in Ohio in the mid-1990s, and now there are 610 sites in 47 states and 10 countries, including right here in Barrow County. To participate in Project Search, a student has to be a Barrow County student between the ages of 18 and 22, with barriers to employment such as intellectual or developmental disabilities. They have to be finished with their high school graduation requirements and willing to defer graduation until the end of their Project Search year. It's during that year that they come to the Winder Housing Authority here at the Wimberley Center, and they participate in 3 rotations that last anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks. They have a manager and a mentor that they report to and work alongside, along with skills training with our partners, and it's just a really unique program because the end goal is part-time or full-time employment for the interns.
Here at the Wimberley Center, the Project Search students are learning a variety of different skills. They're learning data entry, they're learning accounts payable, payroll, records retention. They're learning how to shred, environmental services.
Restaurant sanitation, doing a lot of washing dishes and helping clean floors. There's a good aspect of prep, some general prep cook.
I do dishes, I do prep. It teaches you if you want to work at a kitchen.
Alrighty, welcome back everybody. At this time, can I get a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Ms. Stevens, Ms. Kelly, all in favor? Alrighty, notice our next meeting date, our board meeting is November 7th. If there's nothing else to discuss, we're adjourned.